train your mind to stay calm in any situation. Have you ever had a careless word set you off? A disrespectful look that kept you awake all night? Or a minor road incident that turned your day into chaos? The truth is, most of us are not defeated by the big disasters, but by the small details we cannot control. A word, a look, and an unexpected event. These little things shake the mind like a storm. We often think calm is a trait. Some people are hot-tempered, some are composed. But Marcus Aurelius reminded us, the one who makes you angry has already won. What does that mean? It means calm is not a personality trait you are born with, but a strength you train. If you let your mind get pulled away, you lose before the battle starts. Think back to the last time you lost your temper. Maybe it's because of an argument at work or traffic jams. Emotions surged, and you reacted instantly. But later, you regretted it. You wished you had stayed silent. You wished you had held back. That is when you realize calm is not just a choice. It is a power that shapes the outcome. And the great news is that anyone can train for this strength. Calm does not mean denying or suppressing emotions. It means mastery. It is the ability to stand firm like a rock while the storm rages around you. To keep a cool head even in the heat of the moment. Hearing these words means you also have a long way to go to build an inner fortress. And that journey begins today. This is not an empty theory. You can use these practical principles to change how you face life. Suppose you seek the strength to stay calm in any situation. Hit subscribe and stay with this channel. This will be the place to train your mind so no storm can bring you down. And now let us step into the beginning of this journey. This world moves at a relentless speed. Information messages demand pressure. They all come at once without giving us a breath. We often tell ourselves we will stay calm and handle things better. But with one minor disruption, everything falls apart again. There is a truth that the Stoics always taught. You cannot control what happens, but you can control how you respond. Calm is not indifference. It is not pretending nothing happened. Calm is the strength of one who sees the storm coming yet still chooses to stand tall. Epictetus wrote, "It is not things themselves that disturb us, but our judgments about them." That means your mind decides whether you live in chaos or in peace. You may be insulted, betrayed, and tested. But those are just events. It is the meaning you attach to them that creates pain or power. Today, many believe calm is a gift you are born with. In reality, it is a skill, a discipline, a habit trained day after day. Like a muscle, the mind needs training to grow strong. And once trained, it becomes the foundation that keeps you steady no matter what comes. Picture someone being attacked in a meeting. Instead of lashing out, they pause, they breathe, they answer with a short, steady reply. In that moment, they protect their own peace and earn respect from everyone present. That is not magic, it is training. So, how do we gain that training? The answer lies in principles the Stoics left us, and modern psychology confirms, from separating emotions from reactions to accepting the unfairness of life. From strategic silence to keeping a cool head in heated moments. These are practical steps that are within anyone's reach. This video is not just about theory. It is a map showing you how to train your mind daily. Most importantly, it will show you that calm does not come from the outside but from within. Now, let us dive into the 10 principles for training your mind to stay calm. Each principle will not only change the way you respond, but also the way you see life as a whole, and together they will turn your mind into a fortress that cannot be shaken. Let us begin with the first principle. Principle 1. Separate emotion from reaction. There is a hard truth we cannot deny. Most troubles in life do not come from outside events but from our reactions. A careless word, an unthinking action from someone else, or an unexpected situation are only small pieces. But when emotion rises, it magnifies everything, turning small matters into explosions. Then we act angrily, say what we should not, and do what we should not do. Stoicism reminds us that emotion and reaction are not the same. You may feel anger, hurt, disappointment. Those are natural reflexes. But you are not forced to turn those emotions into instant action. There is always a space between what we think and how we choose to respond. Whoever masters that space holds freedom. Think back to a recent moment. You were talking, and someone made a harsh remark in front of others. At once, your body tensed, your heart raced, and your face burned hot. Every signal urged you to strike back. But imagine you paused. You took a deep breath. You realized this was only a passing emotion, not your truth. You held back and stayed calm. In those few seconds of silence, control returned to your hands. Epictetus said, "We suffer not from what happens, but from how we judge it." That remark, if you see it as an insult, wounds you. But if you see it as nothing more than a passing opinion, it drifts away, leaving no trace. What matters is not that emotion appears, but whether we let it command our action. This does not mean forcing yourself to be numb. On the contrary, emotions are signals. They tell you what is happening inside. But you do not need to turn every signal into instant action. You can watch it, acknowledge it, and let it fade. When you can do this, you take a big step toward self-mastery. A familiar example. Driving on the road, someone cuts you off. Anger surges. Your hands grip the wheel tighter. Your foot itches to press the gas. But you pause. You ask yourself, will this reaction make things better or only worse? The answer is clear. And when you let the anger pass, instead of exploding, you protect your safety and keep your inner peace. Calm does not come from avoiding emotion, but from choosing a wiser response. And when you practice this often, you discover a truth. The one who controls the space between emotion and action is the strong one. But life does not stop here. Beyond sudden events, some people show up only to test your limits. They will provoke, ignite, and try to drag you into anger. And when that moment comes, the question is no longer, do I feel emotion, but do I expose my weakness? How you face those attacks decides whether you live as someone ruled by emotion or as someone who truly owns their life. Principle 2. When provoked, do not expose your weakness. Whenever you react quickly to provocation, you hand control over to someone else. In that moment, you admit that your emotions can be manipulated. Another person only needs a word or a gesture to shake your state of mind. Staying calm in these moments is not weakness but real strength. Stoic philosophy has long reminded us that it is not outside events that harm us, but how we let them affect us. Marcus Aurelius once wrote that if someone makes you angry, it is not their fault, but yours for allowing it. The Stoic calm in the face of provocation is the shield that protects the mind from manipulation. Picture a familiar scene. You are working with focus when a colleague makes a sarcastic remark. At once, your body tightens, your head grows hot, and you want to strike back. If you do, the exchange turns into an argument. You lose time, you lose energy, and you reveal your greatest weakness. Meanwhile, the other person only needs a smirk to know they succeeded in pulling you into their game. A trained mind chooses differently. They do not react at once. They let the remark fall into silence. That silence is not defeat. It is a statement that my emotions are not yours to control. This is the difference between the ordinary person and the one who governs himself. Training is not easy. The instinct to fire back is deeply wired. To change it, you must create a pause. When provoked, remind yourself this is a test, not a threat. Words have power only if you accept them, refuse them, and they fade like noise in the wind. One simple practice is the 5-second rule. When someone angers you, take a deep breath and count to 5. That short pause frees the brain from the reflex of emotion and shifts it into reason. In many cases, you will see that not reacting is the strongest response. Begin with small situations. Someone cuts in line, a negative comment online, a thoughtless remark from a friend. Instead of letting your blood boil, notice and let the feeling pass. Each time you do this, you add another brick to your inner fortress. When you keep calm in the face of provocation, people around you will see that they cannot easily control you. They will be forced to change their behavior or leave, because they no longer hold power over your emotions. When you have control, you become truly free. But the journey does not end here. No matter how much you train, life will throw unfair situations at you. Times when you give your all, yet the outcome is not just. Times when you are overlooked or treated wrongly. In those moments, calm is not only silence before provocation, but also the ability to accept the truth that life is never fair. And our next step is learning how to live with that truth. Principle 3. Life is unfair. Learn to adapt. Deep down, we all hope life will be fair. That if we give our best effort, we will be rewarded. That if we live with kindness, we will receive good in return. But reality does not unfold this way. Life does not operate by the law of perfect fairness. There will be times when you work hard, yet opportunity falls into someone else's hands. These are times when you live honestly but still face misunderstandings or betrayal. The Stoics knew this truth well. Marcus Aurelius wrote that suffering comes from outside events and our resistance to them. When you expect life to be fair, you collapse every time it strays from that expectation. But if you accept that unfairness is part of life, you can walk through it without losing your calm. Think of a moment when you were passed over for a promotion. You worked tirelessly, gave up personal time, and still were set aside. The first feeling is anger, then a flood of injustice. You may lose sleep, grow bitter, and ask, why me? But that question locks you inside the cycle of resentment. You cannot undo a decision already made and force the world to behave according to your expectations. What you can do is change the question. Instead of asking why, ask what my next step island. By changing the question, you shift your energy from blame to action. You focus on what is still in your control. That may be improving your skills, seeking another opportunity, or proving yourself through action rather than complaint. Stoicism does not advise silent acceptance of all injustice. It teaches you to see clearly what you can change and what you must adapt to. If you see an injustice you have the power to address and fix, then act. But if it lies beyond your control, fighting it only drains you. One simple practice is to take a piece of paper and draw 2 columns. In the first, write the unfair things that upset you. In the second, write the actions you can take to change or adapt. You see what to release and focus on in just a few minutes. This exercise eases helplessness and restores calm. We cannot force life to follow the rules of fairness, but we can adapt to its fundamental laws. Accepting unfairness as inevitable means you no longer waste energy on resentment. Instead, you preserve clarity to act according to your values. And that adaptation is a real strength. One person may stumble under unfairness. Another may grow stronger by turning it into fuel. The difference does not lie in the event, but in the choice of response. Once you understand this, unfairness is no longer a burden. It becomes an opportunity to train your mind. And when you learn to adapt to unfairness, you discover something more profound. You no longer feel the need to justify yourself to the world. True calm does not live in the eyes of others. It lives in how confidently you stay true to your values. And this leads us directly to what unfolds in the following principle. Principle 4. Stop explaining yourself. One of the most subtle traps that steals your calm is the need to be understood and accepted by others. People often empathize and respect us if we explain enough, but the more we try to explain, the more we tie ourselves to the judgment of others, and in that moment, our calm no longer belongs to us. The Stoics always stressed that the value of a person does not come from what others think, but from how that person lives according to his own principles. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the opinions of others are beyond our control. He focused on living with integrity rather than wasting energy convincing the world. When we get caught up in explaining ourselves to everyone, we forget that we owe no one an explanation for how we choose to live. Picture this. You decide to take a path different from the crowd. You may choose a career that few understand. You may live simply while others chase material wealth. At once, the questions come. Why would you do that? Why not choose the safer path? And you find yourself piling up reasons to defend your choice. But the more you talk, the weaker you feel, because you place your worth on someone else's scale. The calm person acts differently. They do not need lengthy justifications. A simple line, "I chose this," enough to affirm their freedom to decide. They know that those who truly respect and understand them need no explanations, and those already set on judging will not be swayed, no matter how much you explain. A practical step you can take is to answer briefly when questioned about your personal choices. Instead of falling into the spiral of justification, use short lines: "Because I decided so." "Because it is my value." At first, it feels hard, because you are used to seeking approval. But slowly you feel lighter and more confident. You are no longer trapped in the gaze of others, but hold calm from within. Stoicism does not teach arrogance. It teaches humility with firmness. Living true to yourself does not mean fighting everyone. It means knowing what matters and not needing to defend it. When you practice this, you feel a release. The mind grows quieter, less consumed by pointless debates. You save energy for what truly matters instead of chasing acceptance. And when you no longer depend on approval, you regain control of your mind. You see that emotions are not shaken by judgment. You understand that true calm does not come from agreement, but from standing steady in your choices. And once you master this self-command, you step into a deeper level of training. That is learning to guard your emotions so no one else can take charge. Principle 5. No one controls your mood but you. Have you ever felt that a single word or small action from someone else was enough to ruin your day? You were in a good mood. Then a negative comment appeared, and suddenly everything collapsed. This happens because you handed over control of your emotions to another person. When you let others decide your mood, you make yourself a prisoner inside your own life. The Stoics always emphasized that emotions are a personal responsibility. Epictetus said, "We do not suffer from events but from how we judge them." This means an insult holds no real power on its own. It only wounds you if you agree to let it sink into your mind. If you refuse it, then it becomes nothing more than passing noise. Think of a familiar example. You step out of your house full of excitement. On the road, you meet an impatient driver honking non-stop. You grow upset, your mood drops, and the whole day seems colored by negativity. But if you look closer, you see the honking did not decide your mood. You chose to react with anger. If you had chosen silence and let it pass, your joy for the day would have remained intact. A practical action you can apply right away is the reset technique using breath. When a situation stirs anger or sadness, stop. Take 3 deep breaths and remind yourself, "This is my emotion. I choose whether to hold it or let it go." Just a few seconds of pause are enough to take back control of your mood from someone else. Another helpful step is keeping a short journal each night. Write down the moments in the day when you felt others controlled your emotions. Putting it on paper helps you see where you gave away your power and teaches you how to respond differently next time. Over time, you notice real change. You are less shaken, and you hold your calm longer. Stoicism does not teach us to become emotionless machines. It teaches us that emotions are natural, but reactions are choices. You can still feel sadness or anger, but are not forced to let those feelings drive your actions and destroy your peace. Absolute freedom is not about avoiding every negative situation, but holding steady even in the middle. Understanding that your mood is your own domain makes you feel lighter in every relationship. A criticism no longer robs you of sleep. A look of disdain no longer takes your confidence. An unexpected setback no longer breaks you. You know your mood is not an object for others to touch. It is a fortress you build and guard yourself in. Sometimes, the most potent weapon to protect that fortress is not sharp words or heated debate. It is silent. Silence is not weakness, but the art of staying in control, and that is the very principle we step into next on this journey of training the mind. Principle 6. Silence is the most dangerous weapon. In modern life, instant reaction has become the default habit. A mocking comment, a sarcastic post online, or a challenging look in public easily triggers heated responses. But the Stoics chose another path. They understood that strong reactions do not always bring victory. Often, they only reveal weakness. On the other hand, silence at the right moment can become the sharpest weapon. Marcus Aurelius reminded us that the wise do not rush to respond, because every word spoken is a power handed to another. When you stay silent, you keep that power in your own hands. The provocateur counts on your anger and your counterattack to keep the game alive. When they do not get it, they are left off balance. Imagine a familiar moment. You are in a meeting and a colleague harshly dismisses your idea. If you fire back with the same tone, the room turns tense, but you take back control if you smile, pause for a few seconds, and calmly continue your point. That silence protects your mind and forces the other person to reflect on their behavior. The same applies online. A negative comment can spark instant anger and the urge to strike back. But remember, each reply you leave is a piece of energy you give away. You can choose silence and let time do its work. Without your reaction, those attacks collapse into empty echoes. A simple action you can use is the 5-second rule. Count silently from 1 to 5 when provoked before deciding whether to answer. Most times, you will see that the response is not necessary, and in many cases, silence itself is the strongest reply. Another practice is training in stillness in daily life. When someone tells a story that irritates you, try listening without interrupting. When a debate grows heated, try staying quiet until the other person stops. You will notice that stillness makes you calmer and earns you more respect. Silence does not mean avoidance or weakness. It is a conscious choice, an art of restraint, the strength of someone who knows the value of each word. The Stoics believed that every word we speak must carry weight. If not, silence is worth more. And from that silence, you build an image of strength in the eyes of others. When you no longer react by habit or choose silence over argument, people treat you with respect. That respect is not something you chase. It becomes the natural result of the way you live. And that is the foundation for the following principle. Principle 7. Do not demand respect. Live so that it becomes inevitable. There is a harsh truth few want to admit. The more you chase respect, the less you receive it. When someone has to shout, "I deserve respect," it usually means they have already lost their inner strength. The Stoics understood that respect cannot be begged for, and it cannot be bought. It comes only when you live a life that is undeniable proof. Marcus Aurelius, an emperor with ultimate power, never had to beg for respect. His calmness, character, and discipline in every action made him a natural figure of reverence. He did not need to speak much because the way he lived was already the strongest declaration. You can see this clearly in everyday life. A leader does not need to shout for employees to listen. Fairness, responsibility, and the ability to stay calm make others willingly follow. By contrast, someone who tries to prove authority with loud orders only earns quiet contempt. Stoicism teaches us that respect is not something you can chase. It is the result of living true to your values and principles. When you keep promises, work with discipline, and act reasonably, respect will arrive without you needing a word. This is not luck. It is the outcome of character. So what practical actions can you take? First, stop seeking validation in the eyes of others. Do not live to please the crowd. Live in alignment with your own values. If you value honesty, hold to it even when no one is watching. If you value discipline, keep it even when no one reminds you. These small, quiet acts form the foundation for lasting respect. Next, let results speak louder than words. The Stoics believed that what you do is proof, not what you say. A project finished with excellence, a promise kept, a calm reaction in a tense moment, all earn more respect than 1,000 explanations. More importantly, remember that genuine respect does not only come from others, it begins with you. If you do not respect yourself or keep your own word, you cannot expect others to do it. When you live in a way that lets you look in the mirror with your head held high, you are already halfway to earning the world's respect. And once respect is built, another challenge appears. It is about who you share your pain, weaknesses, and vulnerable parts with. Not everyone deserves that trust. Not everyone can hold you up when you need it most. This is the next step in training the mind and unfolds in the principle that follows. Principle 8. Not everyone deserves access to your pain. One of the easiest ways to lose your calm is by opening your heart to the wrong people. Out of habit or longing for comfort, we share our struggles with anyone who listens. But not everyone is capable of carrying your pain. Some will use it against you. Others will dismiss it or twist it into gossip. The Stoics knew that vulnerability is sacred and must be guarded with care. Seneca once wrote that you should choose carefully whose company you keep, because the wrong company can corrupt even the best character. The same is true for your inner world. When you reveal your wounds to people who lack wisdom or compassion, you risk deepening them instead of healing them. True strength is not about closing yourself off forever. It is about discernment, knowing when and with whom to share your inner battles. Think about a time you opened up to the wrong person. Maybe you spoke about your struggles at work or in your family, and instead of empathy, you received judgment. That moment left you not lighter but heavier. The lesson is clear. Not everyone earns the right to see behind your armor. A practical step is to build what the Stoics might call an inner council. Choose a few people in your life who embody integrity and steadiness. People who listen without rushing to fix you and hold your trust like a shield. With them, you can share freely. With others, you keep your silence. Silence is not isolation, it is protection. Another practice is journaling. Instead of pouring your pain into ears that may not value it, pour it onto paper. Marcus Aurelius did this in his meditations. He turned his doubts, frustrations, and struggles into written reflections. The pages became his safest confidant. You can do the same. Over time, journaling transforms your pain into wisdom without exposing your weakness to those who cannot handle it. Remember that guarding your vulnerability does not mean living with a closed heart. It means building boundaries strong enough to protect your peace. You decide who enters your inner circle. You determine who holds your trust. And in making that decision, you take another step in mastering your emotions. When you stop scattering your pain everywhere, you notice a quiet power. People cannot easily manipulate you because they no longer know where your weak points are. You stand taller, calmer, more self-contained. And that strength is what prepares you for the following principle. Because once you guard your vulnerability, you must also learn to master the fire inside you. The next step is how to control anger before it controls you. Principle 9. Master your anger before it masters you. Anger is one of the most dangerous forces in the human mind. It rises quickly, burns fiercely, and leaves behind regret. A single outburst can destroy trust, damage relationships, and weaken your own sense of control. The Stoics never denied that anger exists. They warned that when anger controls you, you are enslaved. But when you control it, it becomes fuel for strength and clarity. Seneca wrote that anger is temporary madness. It clouds judgment, twists perception, and pushes you to act before you think. He advised that the wise never rush to fight because you are no longer yourself. Once anger takes hold, this is why the most significant strength is not throwing a punch or raising your voice, but holding back when every nerve in your body tells you to explode. Picture a familiar scene. You are driving, and someone cuts you off recklessly. Your hands tighten on the wheel, your chest burns, and the urge to lash out fills your mind. In that moment, you face a choice. If you give in, you risk an accident, maybe even a life. If you pause, breathe, and let the other car fade away, you save your safety and inner peace. A simple tool is what psychologists call the 90-second rule. Neuroscientist Jill Bolte Taylor discovered that the chemical life of an emotion in the body lasts only about 90 seconds. If you can endure the surge without acting, the storm passes. The Stoics knew this long before science. They trained themselves to wait, pause, and let the fire die before responding. Another practical habit is physical reset. When anger rises, move your body. Stand up, walk, stretch your arms, and release the tension trapped inside. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself to return to nature and breathe. By moving the body, you loosen the grip of rage and give your mind room to think. But mastering anger does not mean burying it. Suppressed anger becomes poison. True mastery means transforming it. When someone disrespects you, use that spark as a signal to strengthen your discipline. When life feels unfair, use that fire as fuel to work harder, train longer, and prove yourself through calm action, not rage. Anger will visit you. No one escapes it. But whether it becomes your master or your servant depends on you. If you can pause, breathe, and redirect its energy, anger becomes not your enemy but your teacher. And when you reach this level of control, you unlock the following principle. Because beyond mastering anger lies the deepest discipline of all, learning to remain calm even when the world feels like it is falling apart. Principle 10. Stay calm even when the world falls apart. Life will test you with moments that feel unbearable. The loss of someone you love, the collapse of plans you built for years, the sudden storm that wipes away what you thought was solid. In those moments, the instinct is to panic, break down, and surrender. However, the Stoics taught that true strength is not found when everything goes well. It is revealed when the ground shakes beneath you, yet you remain standing. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations that the universe is in change and our life is what our thoughts make of it. He faced wars, plagues, and betrayal, yet he returned each day to the discipline of calm. He understood that chaos outside does not have to mean chaos inside. The calm mind is not blind to disaster. It sees clearly, accepts what it cannot stop, and then asks, "What can I do now?" Think about a personal crisis you have faced. Maybe you lost a job, or a relationship ended without warning. At first, the shock felt like the world collapsing, but slowly, you realized that panic did not solve anything. The path opened again when you took a breath, grounded yourself, and focused on one step forward. Calm did not erase the pain, but gave you the strength to move through it. A practical way to build this resilience is what the Stoics called premeditation, malo rum, the premeditation of adversity. Each morning, take a moment to imagine what could go wrong today. Not to create fear, but to prepare your mind. If loss comes, you expected it. If plans fall apart, you've already been trained for it. By rehearsing misfortune, you strip it of its power to shock you. Another practice is creating a calm zone. This could be a quiet walk, a space in your home, or even a few breaths you take before responding. When disaster strikes, retreat to your calm zone. It reminds you that stillness is always an option. It gives you room to think before you act. Staying calm when the world falls apart does not mean you feel nothing. It means you feel everything, but do not let it crush you. You carry grief without losing clarity. You have uncertainty without losing direction. And in that state, others will look to you as an anchor. Your calm becomes their calm. When you train your mind to remain steady in the darkest storms, you discover the truth the Stoics lived by. Nothing outside can break you unless you hand it that power. And when you live this way, you are ready for the final steps of mastery, where calm is no longer just your defense, but the force that inspires everyone around you. Principle 10. Stay calm even when the world falls apart. Life will test you with moments that feel unbearable. The loss of someone you love, the collapse of plans you built for years, the sudden storm that wipes away what you thought was solid. In those moments, the instinct is to panic, break down, and surrender. However, the Stoics taught that true strength is not found when everything goes well. It is revealed when the ground shakes beneath you, yet you remain standing. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations that the universe is in change and our life is what our thoughts make of it. He faced wars, plagues, and betrayal, yet he returned each day to the discipline of calm. He understood that chaos outside does not have to mean chaos inside. The calm mind is not blind to disaster. It sees clearly, accepts what it cannot stop, and then asks, "What can I do now?" Think about a personal crisis you have faced. Maybe you lost a job, or a relationship ended without warning. At first, the shock felt like the world collapsing, but slowly, you realized that panic did not solve anything. The path opened again when you took a breath, grounded yourself, and focused on one step forward. Calm did not erase the pain, but gave you the strength to move through it. A practical way to build this resilience is what the Stoics called premeditation, Malo Rum, the premeditation of adversity. Each morning, take a moment to imagine what could go wrong today. Not to create fear, but to prepare your mind. If loss comes, you expected it. If plans fall apart, you've already been trained for it. By rehearsing misfortune, you strip it of its power to shock you. Another practice is creating a calm zone. This could be a quiet walk, a space in your home, or even a few breaths you take before responding. When disaster strikes, retreat to your calm zone. It reminds you that stillness is always an option. It gives you room to think before you act. Staying calm when the world falls apart does not mean you feel nothing. It means you feel everything, but do not let it crush you. You carry grief without losing clarity. You have uncertainty without losing direction. And in that state, others will look to you as an anchor. Your calm becomes their calm. When you train your mind to remain steady in the darkest storms, you discover the truth the Stoics lived by. Nothing outside can break you unless you hand it that power. And when you live this way, you are ready for the final steps of mastery, where calm is no longer just your defense, but the force that inspires everyone around you. We have walked through 10 principles for training the mind to stay calm, from separating emotion from reaction to keeping a cool head in the heat of conflict. Each principle is a piece of the puzzle, and when they come together, they form the picture of a steady mind. The heart of Stoic teaching is this: calm is not passive. Calm is active strength. It does not mean ignoring pain or pretending you feel nothing. It means recognizing your emotions and then choosing how you will respond. You keep the choice in your hands instead of handing it over to circumstances or others. As someone who studies Stoic philosophy and modern psychology, I see one truth clearly. People today often try to avoid negative emotions, but emotions cannot be erased. They can only be managed. And managing does not mean forcing them down. It means watching, accepting, and guiding them towards something useful. This is a skill anyone can train, regardless of age or circumstance. Another lesson is just as important. Strength does not come from avoiding storms. It comes from standing firm in the middle of them. Every insult, every injustice, every crisis is a chance to practice steadiness, sharpen discipline, and prove that you are stronger than you once believed. Here is my practical advice. Do not try to practice all 10 principles at once. Pick the one that fits your current struggle. Work on it for a week, then a month. Once it becomes a habit, move on to the next. Real change comes not from leaps but from steady steps. And remember this: calm is not a gift given to a few. It is the result of training. Each time you choose silence over reaction, each time you decide to observe instead of rushing to argue, each time you hold a cool head instead of letting anger control you, you lay another brick in your inner fortress. In a chaotic world, calm is the most significant advantage. It sharpens your decisions, strengthens your actions, and frees your soul. This is a journey you can begin today with the smallest step. Calm is not something you are born with. It is the result of the small choices you make every day. One deep breath instead of rage, one pause instead of a rash reaction, one steady head in the middle of chaos. You do not need to do everything at once. Start with one principle today. Tomorrow, you will already be different. You will be stronger and freer than ever imagined a year from now. If what I have shared speaks to you, leave a comment. Tell your story. What situation makes it most challenging for you to stay calm? And which principle will you begin with? When you write it down, you are not only committing to yourself, you are showing others that they are not alone. Subscribe to join me in building your inner fortress. Share this video with someone who needs calm right now. And if you want to go further, the following video on this channel will be your next step forward.